Welcome to today's episode of Magnus Mindset Podcast, where it's our mission to help you grow in the skills, knowledge, and relationships to help you live your best. I'm your host, Tim Balo, and if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another podcast episode. In the last podcast, we were discussing the idea of choosing to be optimistic in a world that just seems so negative about stuff. Well, Magnus Tribe, I've got more for you today on this very idea, not just something that I personally am working through and trying to implement into my own life. I hope it's something that you can put into your life as you practice this. And also, if you've got kids, this is something to work through with your children now while they're young so that they can practice throughout their life. Again, last podcast, we were talking about this idea that it just seems like the world has a bit of a negative spin on things. Everything sounds negative. I'm quite frankly tired of that influencing me and causing me to be more negative as well. We see this all over the place. We open our closet at home, we touch everything in the closet, and then we say out loud, I have nothing to wear. We have maybe cable TV, satellite TV, streaming media, and yet we're sitting on the couch scrolling with a remote or possibly on our phone saying there's really nothing to watch. We live in climate-controlled homes, but we roam the kitchen, and we have lots of food in the kitchen, and yet we'll open the refrigerator and stand there and say there's nothing to eat. We go to a restaurant. We have someone make our food, serve our food, clean our dishes, and we just kind of come off as being sort of bored with our food there. By nature, I recognize that I am not necessarily a grateful person. I tend to be a little bit like Veruca Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where I simply want more, I want better, I want it now. Maybe you find yourself feeling that way sometimes as well. Well, I want us to be challenged today by the idea of choosing to be grateful. Choosing to be grateful. I want to be obsessed and develop a heart that is one of gratitude. I'm going to choose gratitude. Today I want to give you 3 statements that I think will help you to choose gratitude. So if you're taking notes, be sure to write this one down. I will actively practice gratitude. I will actively practice gratitude. So gratitude is really interesting because research shows that it actually unlocks other positive values in our lives. I think that's just fascinating. We have these images of actually what happens in the human brain when we release these positive thoughts or when we're actively practicing gratitude. We have these happy kind of feel-good chemicals. We know them as serotonin, dopamine. Maybe you've heard these before. They're circulating around inside of our brain and inside of our bodies, and they're related to feelings of like satisfaction, pleasurable feelings. And when we have these positive thoughts, when we practice gratitude, those chemicals that are in there, they're released more actively throughout our body and help us to not only sleep better, but also to act better throughout the course of our day. We have just a better mental health, if you will, and a better outlook on everything. So here's a practical step to do this. And practicing gratitude, I want you to consider your daily planner. Perhaps you need to put into your daily planner, whether that's you get yourself an email sent to yourself, you send yourself a text, you just put it into maybe your Google Calendar or whatever that looks like, whatever your planning app is. But some kind of box that reminds you every day to contemplate something of gratitude. So lots and lots of coaches recommend journaling to express yourself. I think that's a great idea. Journaling may feel a little daunting at first, but it can really have some great benefits. It might start off feeling like, well, a really big undertaking. You've got this journal with nothing in it. You got to fill it up. Don't worry about that. It's not a homework assignment. It's just designed to help you sort of start small. So here's what I would encourage you to do. If you're going to dive into this idea of journaling, get yourself a little journal or a notebook and start off simply by writing 3 things every morning that you are grateful for. The key is that it doesn't have to be poetic, doesn't have to be intense. It's just simple and beautiful. So for instance, I'm grateful for this cup of coffee in my mug. I'm grateful that I woke up today. I'm grateful that my car started. I'm grateful that I have employment to go to. And instead of being entitled, we start to embrace this gratitude. Simple things, just start practicing gratitude. Number 2, I won't let what I want rob me of what I have. Let me say that again. I won't let what I want rob me of what I already have. In the Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 9 says, "Better what the eye sees than the roving of the appetite." We have to embrace that what we have, instead of longing for what other people have. It's that idea of always trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're looking at their new car, their new upgrade, their nice wardrobe. We're always looking at other people and comparing ourselves, and we do that sort of naturally as a species. We're always kind of trying to figure out where we fit inside society, but that can actually rob us of this gratitude. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Here's the truth. It's not happy people who are grateful. It is actually grateful people who are happy. It's this attitude of gratitude. Most of us, we get 3 meals in a day. If you have a job and you're making minimum wage, you're making 32 times the average of what 50% of the world makes. We have really typically pretty good health. We have beds, we have clothes to wear. We've got, well, probably like you, at least a couple pairs of shoes. We've got friends and family. We have, whether it's a car or we have, public transportation. Most of us have cell phones. You might even be listening to this podcast right there. I can tell you that we need to recognize what we have instead of always chasing after what we want. I can tell you that I had an opportunity as a teenager to go work with some Haitian groups, refugee groups that were down in the islands of the Bahamas. They were living in some pretty bad situations. No indoor plumbing. They were using their front yards to take care of that kind of business. The kids were basically wearing the same clothes all of the time. There's very little education, and they had so little. But I can tell you this, that working with some of those kids, they had so much joy. They had so much creativity. They had so much fun. They were playing with toys that they had made for themselves. They were running around and enjoying the company of their friends. So it's not about the stuff. It is about building relationships for sure. And it's about recognizing what we already have and being grateful for that. Gratitude really does turn what we have into enough. Let's talk about the difference here between being content versus being complacent. Because I do struggle with that of, I know what I want. I'm driven. I have goals. I have a vision, right? Those kinds of things. So am I supposed to just sit back and do nothing and just go, I'm content and that's it? Well, here's a quick definition. With content, it is sufficient for oneself. You're strong enough or possessing enough to need no aid or support, okay? So it's an independent of any external circumstances. You're okay. But complacent is the feeling that is so satisfied with your own abilities or situation that you feel you do not need to try any harder. So, yes, we will be content in our circumstances, but we don't need to be complacent in our circumstances. You can have drive, ambition, all those kinds of things. Yes, you want better, maybe for the next generation of your family. You want to leave a generational wealth, a legacy. Doesn't mean you need to be complacent, which is simply sitting, but to be content with the gratitude of what you have around you. Number 3, I will practice the stop technique. That's right, just like the stop sign when you're driving, it's called the stop technique, and you're going to practice this. There's a certain pressure of positive thinking right now and trying to do that all the time, and it's really, really difficult because you may find yourself being negative and getting stuck in that track all throughout the day. So maybe you need to turn that pressure around and just switch the narrative, and while you're thinking some positive thoughts, yes, that would be great. It seems impossible sometimes to get yourself out of the negative thinking rut. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to stop. This is coming from Rachel Slick, who is a behavioral health specialist. She says we need to stop. That's an acrostic for S is for stop, as you might expect. You're going to stop what you're doing. You're going to take a physical pause if you can. You're going to pull back from that computer. You're going to stop whatever it is that you're doing, okay? I realize if you're driving, that's probably not as easy to do, but whatever the situation dictates, if you can, physically pause. And then T is to take a breath. T is for take a breath. When was the last time you actually just stopped and breathed in? I strongly encourage you, inflate the belly, not just the chest, inflate the belly. Breathe through your nose, in, out. And I tell you what, you take these 2 steps by just stopping what you're doing and taking a breath. These are so important. It will calm you right then and there. Now, O is for observe. You're going to take a mental inventory of what is it that's getting on your nerves? What's weighing on you? When you take that physical inventory, you're going to ask the question of where are you holding on to this tension? Is it maybe in your jaw, in your neck? Are you holding it in your shoulders? You realize that you're tensing up. So we're going to take a moment and we're going to observe, where am I holding this pressure? Observe what it is that your body is doing in that moment where maybe you have a negative influence coming against you, or you're feeling that negative mindset. We've stopped what we're doing physically. We've taken a breath. Now we've observed what I'm doing in my own body. And then we're going to the letter P, which is to proceed with purpose. To proceed with purpose. This is the action step. What do I do to mitigate what I found when I'm observing in the previous step? I can feel where the tension is. I need to relax that out. We're going to proceed with purpose. That's when you might need to maybe go for a walk or drink some water, something other than coffee or Red Bull. You're going to maybe get up, go to use the restroom. Just change of scenery can often help us to get out of the mindset. And we're going to practice this stop technique in order to help shift our mind. We're going to choose gratitude. Give yourself the grace for, if you can, an hour, maybe even just a 15-minute break. If you have the freedom to simply lie down, prop your feet up, and relax for a few minutes, do that. It's this abstract action that can actually help you before your mind gets too stuck into this negative thinking. Another quick tip, and this is not one of the three, but I'm just going to encourage you that when it comes to gratitude, sharing your gratitude with others is absolutely so helpful for your own mindset. Florida State University psychologist James McNulty and his co-author Alexander Dugas, they recruited 120 newlywed couples, and they found that expressing gratitude can actually help strengthen relationships. So the next time that your spouse, your friend, your family member, your children, whatever, they do something that you appreciate, be sure to let them know. Be sure to tell them how much you are so grateful for, not just what they did, but for who they are. So, out of our three statements, I will actively practice that gratitude. I'm going to take time each day to write those things down. I will not let what I want rob me of what I have. I'm going to be content with what I have, but I can continue to pursue my goals and vision as long as it's not going to cause me to become negative. And I will practice the stop technique by simply stopping what I'm doing, taking a breath, observing where I'm holding on to some of that negativity, and then proceed with purpose. Well, that's what I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you share it with a friend. Again, remember to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the episodes of this podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.